Vedic astrology mahadashas is probably one of the most confusing yet most well-known component of Vedic astrology. Hi, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, certified astrologer, and in this segment I'm going to be going more over the Vedic mahadashas. So before going into anything, I wanted to go into the history. Now, some of the most ancient texts in the Hindu philosophy is the Vedas. However, other than the Vedas, the Puranas are also a very important text, considered religious texts. So in these texts, in fact, Rishi Parashar, and I actually grew up knowing some of these sages' names. Parashara, the sage who is said to have written the first Purana, and that's one of the most ancient texts, the Vishnu Puran, and he's the first sage to have actually designed the dasha system. So it comes from Rishi Parashar, and then his son Vyasa Rishi, and his grandson is the famous Rishi Vashishta. So here's the periodic table in the backdrop. However, the dasha is a way to assess the influence of a particular planet ruling that period on each of the zodiac sign. What does that mean? It means in your natal chart, if you have, for instance, a certain planet, Mars is debilitated, and then you're going to go through the Mars mahadasha, then you'll feel the effect of the debilitated Mars during the particular mahadasha. The other component to this is that in the Vimshottari Dasha, the assumption is made that a person will live 120 years. And so the calculation is made based on that. Now, each planetary body does not get an equivalent number of years in the Dasha. And I'm going to demonstrate this to you not only through my chart, but also give you a table. So here are the number of years. Remember I told you that the number of years are actually not all the same. So here's the number of years. For Ketu, it's 7 years. For Venus, it's 20 years. For Sun, it's 6 years. For Moon, it's 10 years. Mars is 7 years. Rahu is 18 years. Jupiter is 16 years. Saturn is 19 years. And Mercury is 17 years. So for me, the way it started, I happened to be in the Jupiter mahadasha. And usually people look at the mahadasha and maybe the antardasha in order to make determinations as to what will go on in the phase of their life. So just to make note, the number of years are the greatest in Venus and the least with Ketu and Mars. So now looking at some of these dashas and taking a look at the planets that are correspondent to the nakshatras. After all, these mahadashas are determined according to the nakshatras. So Ashwini, Magha, and Mula, they are actually the planet with that is Ketu. So they're going to start with Ketu because of the nakshatra they're part of. So I hope this is giving you some more insight on this. Shukra or Venus actually is 20 years. This lasts for 20 years. So if you're born in Bharani, Purva Palguni, or Purva Ashadha, then you start with Venus. Now Aditya or the sun is 6 years. And you start with this if you're born in Kritika, Uttara Palguni, or Uttara Ashadha. And then the moon, this gets 10 years, and you have to be in either Rohini, and Rohini is the most favorite wife or lunar mansion of Chandra or moon, and then Hasta or Shravan. So that this makes sense. Mars or Mangal is the three nakshatras are Mrigashira, Chitra, and Dhanishta. And then for Rahu, the three, and it's 18 years, and then three nakshatras are Adra, Swati, and Shatabhishak. And then for Jupiter, the number of years is 16 years, and the three nakshatras are Punarvasu, Vishakha, and Purvabhadra. And then Saturn 19 years, Pushya, Anuradha, Uttarabhadra. And then Mercury or Buddha is 17 years, and the nakshatras are Aslesha, Jyeshtha, and Revati. So after this, what I'm going to do is switch gears and go over the Vedic astrological sign that I have. And here's the rest of the nakshatras, and so as the chart before this showed, the first planetary body is the sun, and then the moon, and then Mars, and then Rahu. And I told you that I'm in right now in the Jupiter mahadasha. So Jupiter actually lasts from 2021 for me all the way to 2037. So then you can look at the Antardasha, which means that it is divided further into smaller periods. So when you have Jupiter Mahadasha and then Jupiter Antardasha, then you can divide it up. So for the first, as you can see, 2 years, Jupiter is there, and then Saturn is there for a couple more years, and then after that, about Mercury is there for 2 years. So you can see there's multiple planetary bodies with varying number of years. However, this is divided up into these different planetary bodies. So that's Antardasha. I know the Mahadasha was what I was going over, but Antardasha is a smaller sort of, and it actually follows the same order every time. So after Jupiter, always Saturn will come, and after Saturn, Mercury will always come, and then Ketu, Venus, if you remember the list. So these are all the different components and demonstration of how the Vimshottari Dasha works. I hope this has given you some insight into this. Thank you for listening.